Do you know what's worse than your net worth tanking every minute? It's when you record a 25-minute video and then accidentally delete all the source files permanently before you create the final video. So this is take 2 of this video for today. I'm not sure if it'll make 25 minutes, but let's see. Let's start with Daddy Bitcoin. In the last video, we had Bitcoin at around 58,000. I talked about seasonality in crypto and how September in particular is usually bearish, but Q4 is usually bullish. And as expected, September is being pretty bad so far. Today we had the US job reports data. I think people were expecting more clarity on what kind of rate cut we would be getting in September, whether it would be a 25-point or a 50-point rate cut. This is the CME FedWatch tool. It's a very good site to track the expected rate cuts. So prior to the jobs data earlier today, this was at around 55% for one rate cut, and it's now since jumped to 71%. It would be more ideal personally if we had 2 rate cuts coming in the meeting on 18th of September. Because I think the faster the rates are cut, the faster we can see the effects of those rate cuts, which usually tend to be people having more money. And when people have more money, they have more money to spend on disposable things like gambling on our favorite shitcoins or buying crypto. However, it seems quite likely that we're going to get 1 in September, and there's a 50-50 chance that we'll get 2 by November. The key thing to know is if you look at, let's say the end of January 2025, expectation is that we'll have, let's say, 4 to 5 rate cuts by then. It's going to take time for those rate cuts to take effect, but long term that is bullish for the markets, even though there will probably be some pain coming up. Here's those monthly returns I was talking about. You can see August on average 1% increase, September on average minus 5%. But then when you look at October, November and December, on average they're usually green, and October and November especially are usually quite green. Not including 2024, September is red 8 out of 11 months. Whereas if you look at October, you can see it's green 9 out of 11 months. So as long as we can survive September, hopefully we get the Q4 pump. And when you look at Bitcoin quarterly, you can see Q3 on average is the lowest returns of around 4.8%. But then Q4 on average has the highest returns of average 88%. Now that's going to be skewed by these early 2013 runs. Q4 is still usually where the fun happens. So my view has always been we need to survive September. Even though the Bitcoin price is tanking, we still have things like Switzerland's 4th largest bank launching Bitcoin and Ethereum trading. So on top of the ETFs, you just have more adoption coming. You also have things like MasterCard launching Euro non-custodial Bitcoin and crypto debit cards that just furthers adoption. Now there's a scenario that I want to talk about that I see as a possibility, which is maybe we get Q4 bullishness in Bitcoin and maybe Ethereum because of ETF flows, but we don't know how much of that money is going to flow back into the market. In past bull runs, the cycle would be the Bitcoin runs and then Ethereum runs and then alts runs, and then you get like lower cap, below 100 million market cap coins running, and that would be like a usual rotation of money flowing. But now you just have money flowing into ETFs. Is that money going to flow into the rest of the ecosystem? It remains to be seen, but you can see how bad alts have been over the past few months. It's been like a speed run bear market. There'll still be sectors of the industry that pump, and one which I'll talk about later, which I think will pump, will be DeFi. But it's an interesting time for crypto, and there's a lot of changing things compared to last cycles, I think. So let's look at the Bitcoin daily chart. You can just see it's just been making lower highs and lower lows, and it looks like we're going to make another lower low now. There's a big area of support around 52 to 50k. We had 1 wick into it. You can see the prices on the downturn, and you can see we're at 34 on the daily RSI. Pretty sure we're going to get a touch into this 52k to 50k area, and we're going to get another drop of the RSI into oversold or red regions on my chart. Thing is, this is max bearishness that I've seen for a while. You can just see on the weekly chart the structure more, how it's just curling downwards. If 50k breaks, which with the strength of the bearishness, I wouldn't be surprised if that happens, then we have an area, let's say 45k and below to around 40k. A pretty big region, but I think one that has pretty big area of demand. The scary thing is, if that happens, what's going to happen to alts? They're going to get absolutely destroyed, even though they already are. But like I said, at this point, we're basically just praying that we get the seasonality of Q4. When I switch the RSIs to green being over 50 and red being below 50, we can see here that the last bounce to a green RSI on the weekly chart is pretty weak, and that now we're trending downwards with the RSI below 50 on the weekly chart, which is pretty concerning. The daily chart has been red for a while. When you get weak green touches of the RSI. So when it goes to around 60 and then dips below 50, usually that's a sign of a bear market, or my previous bear market experience. Because if you look at previous runs where the RSI was green and over 50, look how strong this one was and this run. But each run has gotten shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. We haven't had any 3-day RSI touches into oversold areas yet. The last one came in June 2022. That would be a pretty good signal, I think, for spot Bitcoin buys, because you can see November 18 was pretty much near the bottom. March 2020, the COVID dump was an ultimate bottom. May 2022 was around 28k. For a long-term DCA, you would have been a bit effed when you had the 3 hours blow up and later, but the second 3-day RSI red touch would have been around 20k, which would have been a very good buy for the run up to the all-time high we reached earlier this year. But yeah, make no doubt about it, at the minute we're in a downtrend and we need help. Hopefully the band-aid is just ripped off in September, and before the end of September or by the presidential debate happening on the 11th, maybe even, we start to get some kind of bounce. So earlier today this was at 53% Trump, and we can see that he's dipped a bit. I don't think the odds matter until the presidential debate on the 10th, but for the bullishness of the market, we need Trump to win. However, I think from the debate, it's much more likely that Trump is the one who has a poor showing in the debate, and I would fully expect Kamala to be ahead of the race after the debate, unless she has a stinker of performance as well. It's kind of messed up that we're relying on the orange man to help us pump the crypto markets, but that's what it's come to. Talking about the orange man, let's take a look at the DeFi project that is launched this week, that is to be built on Ethereum and Aave, called World Liberty Financial. So there's a Trump endorsed project that directly states we're working with Aave to push new standards of DeFi. That explains why DeFi has the second highest mindshare out of all the narratives over the past 7 days. Usually it goes AI, then memes as the top two, but we can see that DeFi has a pretty big advantage over memes over the past week, which makes a lot of sense. I think in general people are burnt out on most of the memes, because there's a lot of memes that don't have any originality and they're just copy pastes, or there's hundreds of versions of the same narrative or coin on Pump Fun. Now the 3 memes I'm going to talk about later, Simon's cat, Fwog and Miggles, they're all unique in that one is a big cartoon, one is like a Coinbase mascot, and one has a pretty big art style and community and cult built around it that makes it unique. But the rest of the meme coins are not really unique, and it makes sense that money will flow back to utility projects like DeFi, especially with the Ethereum ETF and someone as big as Donald Trump having their own DeFi project on Ethereum and Aave. I think DeFi is going to be a good sector in Q4 if we get the bullish Q4 that I discussed earlier. And here are some of the coins which could benefit. We have Uni and Aave as the main two, and they have been for a while, but maybe it's going to pay off to deep dive some of these other coins which are around DeFi. You have Solana DeFi as well in Pyth and Camino. I'm not sure if Jupiter's Solana DeFi, but it's something to research. And Aero is related to base, so if we get a base season, which I'm sure me and the rest of my followers who have Miggles are praying for, Aero could be one that runs if we get a base season. I've talked about the Aave chart previously and how on the weekly chart we had a massive consolidation in the range between, let's say, $50 and around $120. Since June 2022, it just completely ranged. Then we had a fake out here. We had the fake out, broke back below into the range, but then it looks like we had another breakout now. Now, hopefully for Aave, we don't get another break back down below the range, and this is just a breakout and retest, and we get something like this on the weekly that starts pushing away. But of course, that depends on the rest of the strength of the market, which looks very shaky at the minute. However, with the mindshare that DeFi is getting, and the strength that Aave was showing prior to this crypto market nuking, Aave is definitely a coin to watch because it's usually the standout in DeFi. And I know from past markets, when it runs hard. And usually when you have a consolidation of this length, the breakout when it happens is usually pretty explosive. On the monthly chart, you can see cleanly how it just looks like a retest. A clearer area of resistance to reach on a monthly chart, if you just want to buy and hold long term, would be around, I want to say, somewhere between 220 and 240 would be a good major time frame resistance. But Aave is definitely one to watch, especially to see what actually plays out with Donald Trump's involvement with Aave and his World Liberty Project. If that has a successful launch, that could raise the rest of DeFi as well when we get a DeFi season. It seems like the whole market is tied to the fate of Donald Trump right now, huh? Time to look at Simon's Cat, the most popular cat meme coin on Binance chain at the minute, and quite possibly a contender for the #1 spot of cat meme coins. In the first version of this video I recorded earlier, which I accidentally deleted, I noted how the 1 hour chart was chopping whilst Bitcoin was nuking, and I said a safer play would be to buy the breakout of this resistance area which I had mapped out from the previous video. So we would have been looking for something like a breakout and then a retest and then long. However, now it looks like we rejected the resistance area once again, and that now cat looks like it's going to dump, even though it was showing pretty good strength throughout the day. One thing about Simon's Cat is I know there's an airdrop to Fwog holders. Now I'm not sure when that airdrop is getting fully distributed. Usually there is some kind of airdrop dump. There should be some Dune analytics page, or maybe even some updated spreadsheets that go live and tell you how much of the airdrop has been claimed. Usually when there's around 60% of the airdrop being claimed, that's a good area to start buying the airdrop dump. So one thing that happened today with Simon's Cat is, along with Brett and Nero Ethereum version, it got listed on OKX perpetual futures. I think this is a pretty big thing if you've been following what's been happening with Nero. Nero is a coin I talked about previously, and I did say when I last mentioned it, when it was listed on Bybit spot and futures, that was a sign for influencers who got free supply or people who sniped supply in the launch to start dumping their bag, and we had an epic dump all the way down to 2 cents. We then had a bounce on Nero, and it started having insane volume on Bybit perps. So this was yesterday, and you can see he had nearly $400 million worth of volume on Bybit perps, which made it have the most volume of any coin after the big three of Bitcoin, Ethereum and Solana. So it's no surprise that today Nero Ethereum also listed on OKX futures, and then it also got listed on Binance futures today. Now how does this relate to Simon's Cat? Well, Simon's Cat now has OKX futures. If it starts getting pretty good volume, which I think it will, that will lead to it getting listed on Bybit futures first. And then if we start getting Simon's Cat getting the same amount of insane volume that Nero was getting, let's say 200 to 300 million, like the Pepe or Nero, or even with regions of volume like multi-$100 million worth of volume, then Binance futures will definitely list Simon's Cat. I think they'll list it anyway because Simon's Cat is tied to Fwog and Binance already, so it makes sense that there will be some kind of Binance listings. Another thing for Simon's Cat is DWF Labs are heavily invested and I believe market making for them. DWF Labs are the biggest liquidity provider on Bybit, so for me it's just a given that there will be a Bybit listing coming soon for Simon's Cat, especially as it has been doing crazy volume already. I know it's been doing most of the volume on BNB, and volume is what attracts the T1 exchanges. Going back to the chart, we can see we had the rejection at the 2500s level. It's kind of in a tricky spot now to buy because it's just rejected. So what I said in the deleted video still kind of stands. You can buy a breakout, and that means you're buying into strength, and then you cut it if it starts breaking back below, let's say the lower 2400s and breaking back below the range, or you wait for it to hit a support area and then you bid it. One thing you've seen is that the 4-hour RSI has gone over the 50, which usually signals the start of an uptrend. So maybe if we get a market-wide bounce now, we'll get the breakout on Simon's Cat, but it's hard to tell with the airdrop overhang around it and the rejection that it's had today. But make no mistake about it, I'm very bullish on this coin. It has a lot of big influences around it as well, so you know they're going to keep pushing it and pushing it. And the names linked with it, DWF Labs, Binance, Fwog. Fwog is a multi-billion-dollar meme coin. Just to be associated with that, and because of the IP around Simon's Cat, he has millions of followers on all social media and their cartoon. When we get the real bull market, this is something that normies are probably going to love, especially if they start making crypto related cartoons as well. A lesson from the previous video, I did say that on newer coins you get the RSI reaching 40 as the low end, and it doesn't reach oversold 30. When you have a coin with lots of attention and usually quite a new coin, you never get below 30 on a 4-hour or similar time frame chart early on. 40 is the lowest you get, and we had 40 into a region of high time frame support earlier. You can see again we hit 40 and then bounced away again. If you want an entry, you can go down to the 1 hour, I think, and probably buy if we get dips now into another 1 hour oversold region. You can see the last two, one here and then ran hard again. Here was the bottom, ran hard. We've only had two so far in the history of Simon's Cat. That's how new it is. However, if we were to get another 1 hour touch very quick, we had one on the 5th of September. If we got one, let's say the 7th, that's not really too bullish because it's too quick that we had another touch. You can see it took a week roughly for the second touch to happen. So maybe we can try and buy this area of support here around the 2000s, as I would expect that to get bid again if we got there. If we get a market bounce, it looks like Bitcoin was around 52.3 I think a few minutes ago, so it looks like we might be getting a small bounce on Bitcoin. If that sustains over the weekend, Cat could be a good runner, I think, especially if we get a breakout. If we get the breakout, we need to see the reaction at the 2800s high. Okay guys, I'm at 91 subscribers, 9 away from my first target of 100 subscribers. Currently 81% of you who watch my videos are not subscribed. So if you're liking the analysis that I'm giving, then hit that subscribe button and help me get to at least 100. But my real goal is to hit 1,000 and get monetized, so then all my thumbnails are free. I don't know if I've mentioned it already, but I pay a 17-year-old Russian kid around $15 per thumbnail, and it would be pretty cool if I can get it for free. So yeah, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Time to look at the most frustrating and depressing coin in my portfolio right now, and that is Mr Miggles. If you go back to my last video, you'll see that I said the max pain scenario would be for, we were around here by the way, it would be for the RSI on the 12-hour chart to reach the oversold region and to make a kind of double bottom. Now it remains to be seen if we will get a double bottom, but we are now in the area where we bottomed previously, and we've had not one but 2 touches of the RSI going below 30. It just shows how weak it's been. A reason for that is there's absolutely no attention on base chain at the minute. Combined with the lack of liquidity in the general market, people just not interested in base coins. Now this is definitely an area where we want to see buyers step in and confirm a double bottom. Maybe we get some wicks down and then we start pushing up. But it's kind of scary to think what can happen to Miggles if the general Bitcoin market starts to tank more, because that will lead base coins to go down more as well. It's scary when you go to the daily chart because the RSI is at 38.68. So there's still a lot of room to go down on the daily chart. But maybe this is a case like I've mentioned where around 40 is kind of a bottom for newer coins. That's what we're praying is happening with Miggles, and we get a double bottom here. If we start to break down on Miggles, because it's such a new coin, it's hard to tell exactly how low it can go. Maybe we get some deviation below to say 0.01, which would be around 10 million market cap. And then we get a reclaim back into the 1600s, and then we start pushing up and hopefully make some kind of bullish structure. The key reclaim is going to be 2800. You can see it clearer on the 12-hour chart. Like this big area here, like here, 2800, which we failed to reclaim last time, and then we started dipping down. Once we can get above 2800, hopefully that coincides with a push above the 12-hour RSI, above 50 I mean, and that could be a start of a new uptrend. You can see previously when we were at 1500s that right now, it just takes 2 or 3 days before we have a 3x. This is the volatility in meme coins. I'm still very bullish on the future of Miggles, and this is such a fresh chart, and I have no doubt at some point that it's going to get to the oversold regions of the RSI at some point. A thing to look out for would be when we can break 60 on the RSI. We can see 1, 2, 3, 4 times we rejected at 60 on the 12-hour. It's this big area of resistance around 4,000 to 4,500. Once we can break that, and that's probably going to take a while, but once we do, that should be the downtrend completely over, and hopefully we get some sustained momentum long term above the 50 on the 12-hour RSI. So we have the market maker signed. If you're familiar with market maker patterns, then you can probably work out who they are, because this is the pattern that the market maker Miggles usually has. But they're also known for their big pumps later on, as long as there's catalyst. And I know that the Miggles team has catalyst planned. I know that they plan to have marketing on Instagram and TikTok, and they're also trying to make Miggles into a normie friendly brand in a way such as Pudgy Penguins, where it's just everywhere. Even my girlfriend, who works in an office job, one day I went to look what she was doing, and in her work office chat they use Pudgy Penguin gifs. This is something that Miggles is trying to do. It's trying to get into the normie spaces. So I think you just need to watch out for the catalyst. The marketing is one, the market maker is one. I know there's interest from exchanges, but that's going to need more volume, and there's just no volume around base chain at the minute, so that exchanges might take a while. I know there's things like plushies coming, but yeah, it's just as usual, it's just the waiting game in Miggles. It seems like every time I show Miggles, I have to show some base statistics, so let's do that once again, as is tradition with Miggles and this channel. Base now has 14 million monthly active users compared to 11 million a month ago, which is a growth of 3 million over the past month. You can see the number of active addresses is just up and to the right, which is what we want to see in the long term. Even things like NFT mints. Now, I'm a big fan of NFTs because I made a lot of money in the NFT bull run, but I don't think people really care about them these days. But it's a part of why base is growing in activity, and that's all good for the long-term future. What we need more on base is more DEX trading volume. So you can see an average peak was around May, late May to early June. It was around 750 million, and I think this was when Miggles was released, this day, with the big spike. But on general, it's been trending down, and even now it's just trending down. We need more trading on base, but I think the big problem with base at the minute is that there's no apps and dApps that people are using. When Friendtech came out, there were a lot of people using Friendtech and also Farcaster, but since then there's been no apps that people can use, and if there's no apps, people don't start to explore the chain. The good thing is the apps should be coming. Base now has the second highest total developer count, and it's one of the few chains that are green for the year on the number of full-time developers and the number of total developers. So the developers are there. I know from speaking with people who are interested in Miggles that there's quite a lot of people building random stuff, and they're even interested in teaming with Miggles. It's just waiting it out and then waiting for the dApps to come, the apps to come, for people to try them out, for money to flow to base. But it's very painful right now. You can see with stable coins, we had the big run up around March to May, which I think is when base had their big run up overall, like when Toshi went 10x and stuff like that. But it's just been capped off since May and June. There's been no growth in the amount of stable coins on base. We need that to grow so people can start to buy things such as Miggles and grow their meme coin ecosystem. This is what I've been saying with the consumer apps. Look at Friendtech, completely dead right now, and look at Farcaster. It was trending up and now it's just trending down. No one's using it really. So yeah, things might get a lot worse, but if we get to 10 million, I think I'm going to have to load up and just DCA. My average is still 29 million, which I think for the long term is a very good average, but I don't think I could resist if we went down to 10 million. But yeah, it might be painful for a while, but hang in, because I believe it'll be worth it. Don't forget, the coin is still barely 2 months old, and it hasn't gone through a real bull cycle. I don't really count this initial burst because that's just initial hype. The community is still there, and the activations that are going to be triggered by the Miggles team should help it sustain in the long term. So Miggles has some kind of event this weekend where they're helping cat shelters out and helping something around cat adoption. But the key thing is that things like this are catching the eye of Jesse Pollack, who is the founder of Base Chain. He stated that he loves this. So things like this catching the eyes of Coinbase people should be good for the future of the coin. I know that there's also other team members of Base and Coinbase who are talking with the Miggles team all the time and are big fans of what the Miggles team is doing. With these connections to Coinbase, the coin definitely has a future. If we look at Kaito AI's token mindshare feature, we can see that for meme coins, Fwog is currently in 6th position for the week, which means that it's been the 6th most talked about meme coin in the past week. Before all the Nero antics earlier today, it was in 5th place. The reason for that is because it had an epic run up. We talked about Fwog earlier on in the channel, I think around 10 to 20 million market cap, somewhere around there, and then it ran all the way up to 80. Unfortunately, I don't have as much as I had earlier on. Looking at the 4-hour chart, we can see we had a push down to the support area of around 4700s, then a breakout which looks like it was a fake out, because first it looked like we were having a breakout and then a retest, and then it looked like we were looking to leg up, but then we got the common double top feature in meme coins, and then we dumped through the support area and broke down, which signals the start of maybe a downtrend for now for Fwog. Maybe we start pushing back up to the resistance and then leg down again. The thing is though, even now it's at 36 on the RSI, so it has not hit the oversold region before. The lowest it got to was 31. If we were to get an oversold region on Fwog, that would probably put it back to this area of around 4 to the 4800s. That would be like the area to load up, I think, because that's been significant high time frame support and resistance on the way up and down. And from the top of Fwog, that would be roughly, let's say, 53% dip. And I always say with the meme coins you get 50, 60, 70% dips. One thing I don't like is that on the daily we had these very big pushes into the oversold region and then broke down. There's still a lot of room for it to go down on the daily RSI. It depends how the market is going to play out now, I think. It might be that the strength of Fwog is so much that we just push straight up and then break through this resistance again and make new all-time highs. It definitely has that big cult feel around it. If you look at the Twitter feed of the artist, you can see the art is pretty great, and it's this kind of art that goes viral very easily. One thing I've seen is that people are referring to Fwog as the Pepe of Solana, and that's a very easy narrative to catch on. I think you might even get people who bought Pepe start to buy Fwog because there's like an overlap between the Fwog characters. I know that Pepe is very popular because of the whole Matt Fury thing and the Matt Fury universe, but people love Fwog coins as much as they love cat and dog coins, especially one like this. I can already see the cult building around it and people spamming Telegram stickers of Fwog, similar to the way that people were spamming Telegram stickers of Billy when he ran all the way up to 200 million. But I think this has more staying power than Billy because this is a lot more unique. Billy was just another dog, and then as soon as Nero came out, he just lost all the attention that he had. Whilst with Fwog, it's hard to see another Fwog coin coming out on Solana that'll take the attention. I think you have to keep an eye on Solana when you're playing Fwog. It looks like Solana is maybe holding this massive area of support. Well, it slightly broke down, but you can see the long wick here. So we wicked all the way down to 120, which is a pretty big, no, 116 and below was the area I was maybe thinking we'd get to if we finally broke through the 126, 127 region. But if Solana bounces back up and reclaims this area, then maybe Bonk and Popcat and Whiff, they start running as well. And maybe they start running with Fwog, as I would put Fwog amongst those meme coins, and I expect Fwog to do a lot better than the 60 million that it's at now, because it has a lot of attention, a lot of holders, and people love the art. It's something they can rally behind. So yeah, with Fwog, I think personally it's in the middle of this big range. I'd like to buy around the 4800s, but I'm not sure if I'll get it. If I don't get it, a good trade would just be to similar here. You buy the breakout, but this time you hope that the breakout sticks. So this breakout here, the way you could have played it is you buy the breakout and then you cut it when it starts breaking below and back below the resistance area. So that's a pretty easy trade to take because you have a very simple invalidation. But hopefully a breakout would be a sign of very big strength in Fwog and a break of the all-time highs that were around 94 million market cap. Okay guys, that's me done for tonight. If you've liked my analysis and you're not already subscribed, then please subscribe to the channel. I'm heading to bed and I'll see you on the next one.